Welcome back, guys. So today we'll be discussing the Chelsea ownership crisis and why Clearlake and Boehly marriage is at breaking point. But first of all, welcome back to the channel. This is Papi Knows Football. First of all, give this video a like so YouTube can recommend it to a lot more audience, a lot more Chelsea fans, so we can get bigger. And secondly, if you are new to the channel and at the end of the video you like what I'm doing here, you like what we're doing here, you should consider subscribing to the channel. And we're trying to get to 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year. So let's dive into the article. This article was done by the Athletic, Simon Jones, Lim Tony, and others. So for a while now, the Chelsea saga, the ownership problem has been going on for a while, for a few weeks. I think it has been going on behind the scene for months, but it actually came out just last week that there are crises. Normally when you're working with these billionaires, it's just when billionaires do things, especially when people, actually not billionaires, when people do things, there are always problem here and there. But I don't think we didn't think it was this bad. We knew like things were bad at the club, but not this bad. So they are here to set the reasons, and there are a lot of reasons why there are problems between the Boehly and the Clearlake, which are the two main consortium that joined together to buy Chelsea. A lot of co-owners behind the scene as well. But I think the stadium and other things, which we'll touch on this article, get me. So I'll be giving my thoughts. Okay, now this is the part where we read out the article and things and saw what's the problem and the reasons why the two owners can't coexist. Okay, this biggest story at Chelsea is finally out and it's in the open. A little more than 2 years ago, after their 2.3 billion pounds takeover of the club from the sanctioned Russia oligarch Roman Abramovich, majority shareholder Clearlake Capital marriage to co-owner Todd Boehly is in tatters. Rumbling to discontents have Udiobo behind the scenes for sometimes, but specific accusation of a breakdown in relations between Egbali and Clearlake, and co-owner, between Boehly and Clearlake and co-owner Egbali, the most visible actively engaged member of the Chelsea ownership consortium over the past 18 months, were actually denied until now. Now, in the wake of Bloomberg reports last week, because Bloomberg were people that actually reported the rift and the problem that the Chelsea, the Chelsea owners were facing, the problem at the club before the Athletics and other news started looking into it and and started making talks about it. So where was I? Okay. Now, now in the wake of the Bloomberg reports that revealed Clearlake and Boehly are exploring the ownership options, all parties for the first time acknowledge the scale of the rift. People familiar with Boehly say he considered his relationship with Clearlake and Egbali to be irreconcilable, and others claim that the two men barely speak to one another. Eight of their many points of contention, there is a board agreement that the three factors in particular has contributed to the fracturing of the owners. And now we'll get into the main problem here. Now here the bang nonsense. This is where the sorry for people that don't understand what I say, but this is where the main problem is. A fundamental cultural difference in the how the Premier League club should operate with Clearlake and Boehly, each believing others has sought to unduly influence the sporting decisions. Secondly, decision to mutually part ways with the head coach Mauricio Pochettino at the end of last season, which exposed the first public fault line between Boehly and the club leadership structure. Thirdly, a lack of attainable progress in the stadium project over the last 2 years, with the club not yet resolved on the revamp or rebuild of the Stamford Bridge or moving to a nearby site, L Court. Now, these are the three main issues. Now, let me break it down for you. They have two cultural difference on how the club should be run. The cultural difference is what I don't know. Maybe this is maybe Bowley wants to buy the Galacticos, the big names, the Ronaldos, the Neymars, the star signings, the Siemens, the big names. Why Egbali prefers a more approach of, okay, we get young talent, flip them up for profits, operate on a low wage cost. So I can't really know what the cultural difference is from. So I don't really know where the problem here. So I think maybe we might get a little more clarity on that maybe later. And the second decision is to part way with Mauricio Pochettino. At the end of the season, Todd Boehly wants Mauricio Pochettino to remain at the club. He wants Mauricio Pochettino to stay at the club. But Brian Stewart and Paul Winstanley has other plans. They are reviewing the season, and the problem was Bowley, when granted an interview and said he wants Pochettino to stay, and then he had the dinner assured Pochettino that he's going to start the club. And then Bowley had problem with it because the two directors he employed hasn't finished with the review. So after the review, Egbali, Paul Winstanley, Ron Stewart all came together and made the decision to part ways with Mauricio Pochettino, and that is where the main problem started. Now, thirdly, a lack of attainable progress in the stadium project over the last 2 years with the club, not yet resolved or revamp or rebuild the Stamford Bridge. Sorry about reading it out again. Here is what happened. Todd Boehly went to bought Chelsea. Before they bought it, Roman Abramovich himself already making plans on how to rebuild the Stamford Bridge and stuff like that. So when Todd Boehly and Egbali came in, they agreed, okay, we are going to do it. So Roman Abramovich already has a plan. He has a plan on the ground on how to do it. So Boehly brought his what was this woman, Mary Smith or something? Can't remember the name of the woman, to head the operation to build the Stamford Bridge for Chelsea. Everything was good. Then later, Egbali brought in a different architect, the people that help rebuild the Tottenham Stadium, to come help Chelsea rebuild their own stadium. You see, that was the problem. So no one is signing off on anybody to go. Boehly wants his architect, his guy to do the job. Egbali wants his guy to do the job. And Clearlake obviously has the majority share, so they make most of the decisions, and that's why over the past 2-3 years we haven't really seen progress on buying, revamping or rebuilding the stadium. Much hasn't been said about that. So moving on, we can review with that a meeting took place last month when the pair decided to explore their options. Boehly Associates has received approach from investors in recent week with a view of buying out Clearlake, while Clearlake has the aspiration to buy out Boehly. Wow. Well, Clearlake doesn't want to go. Clearlake still wants to make more money than maybe leave in the state they want to stay for 10 years, then leave. So they want to make more money than leave in 10 years. So I think either one of them, it might be, I think if they get offered something high, one of them might leave. So I don't know. Nobody wants to leave. That's the whole part also in the club, is just like I said in my previous video. We don't really need it. We don't need the whole problem. We don't need the Bali. We don't need it, genuinely. So like I said. So where was I? So to tell the fuller story of how and why things have reached this point, what happened next, and how it could impact Chelsea, the Athletic has spoken to individuals on both sides, as well as those who observed the breakdown of the relationship firsthand. All has been granted animosity to enable them speak freely. In the 2 years since Clearlake and Boehly took over, Chelsea has oh my god, Chelsea has disrespected, oh my goodness, and dominated the world football global market, committing more than disrespect. I know what is this, but it's hard to pronounce for man. More than 1.2 billion in transfer fees, generating more than 500 million pounds euros. Sorry, in sale. Players has been bought and sold at speed and speed at a speed and scale that has been divisive and has been dazzling. Bowley Bowley has been the name most often cited in the headline, criticizing Chelsea's transfer policy and the face of the online meme mocking the club for outspending their rivals while laboring in the middle of the Premier League table. However, he has not led the recruitment at Stamford Bridge since January 2023, when he liquidated. Oh my God, when he left his role as the Tyrion sporting director, and titled was signaled that he would step back from the day-to-day responsibility. The move was considered with the introduction of the new sporting leadership team, formally announced at the start of the February last year, with Paul Winstanley and Lawrence Stewart confirmed as co-sporting director. The transfer window of the 2022-2023 season signaled a significant shift in the club's recruitment strategy to focus on younger talent, prepared to accept lower wages based on salary as part of longer and healthy incentivized contract. So this is what I was saying about the culture of the club. So Egbali left. Egbali, okay. So, but while Bowley stepped back, Egbali remained very active on the sporting side. In January transfer window, flying to Turkey with Winstanley to pitch the Ukrainian club Shakhtar Donetsk on a deal to sign winger Mikhailo Mudryk for an initial 70 million euros. 77 million euros at calling 70 million euros, which is 77 million at current exchange rates, with a further 30 million potential due to performance related add-ons. The two men also led the negotiation, which resulted to the British record of the 120 million pounds for Enzo Fernandez on deadline day. Wow. In 18 months, Winstanley and Stewart has continued to work closely with Egbali, who engaged in day-to-day operation at the Stamford Bridge and the Cobham training complex, where any other member of the ownership group and other representative of the equity that owns the 61.5% of the club shares can consider the most powerful figure at Chelsea. This dynamic speaks to what Boehly view in major continuing tension with Clearlake. A cultural difference over the over how the co-owners operate. Boehly approached and Boehly's approach, as evidenced by his work with Major League Baseball, Los Angeles Dodgers, is to hire a specialist, allow them to get on with their jobs, while Clearlake, particularly Egbali, has taken a considered role by Boehly to be micromanaging. A source close to Boehly described Egbali as being obsessed with player trading. Well, that's that's not far from the truth. We saw the way we buy and sell, So it looks like maybe they are using maybe his passion for the club against him, but the way we buy players at the speed which we buy and sell is mad. We buy Dastro Fofana a year ago. We are selling him this season. We bought who else? A lot of the players we bought 2 years ago, none of them is even at the club. It's just like they have new squad every year, which I don't even know whether is sustainable. So let's continue. One person familiar with Clearlake thinking disputes this is insisting that a barely level of engagement in Chelsea recruitment serves only to support Winstanley and Stewart, not least regarding the number involved in transfer and contract and structuring of the deal, where his financial acumen complements their football expertise. In case in any case, major decision taken at Chelsea requires a sign off from Boehly as well as from Egbali and fellow Clearlake co-owner Jules Felicafano. Yeah, Boehly has never exercised his veto power over the transfer. This lack of open resistance, according to figures close to him, is due to a desire to pick his battles. Similarly, Similarly, there were no Clearlake checks on any of the transfer business conducted during Boehly ill-fitted tenure as the Tyrion sporting director in the summer of 2022. Chelsea have since attempted to address many of the unsuccessful signing made in the window, swiftly selling on Koulidio Koulibaly, Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang, and then freezing out Raheem Sterling last month before loaning him out to London rivals on the deadline day. Bye. Paladi. Paladi. Chelsea are in a very, very big crisis. I don't even know. I don't know whether I just pray that this doesn't affect the players in the field. I just pray the players perform regardless of what the issue is at Chelsea. But big problem there. We have a lot of problem at Chelsea. A lot of problem. The article is almost finishing, so let's just let's get to it. I think we're almost in the last phase. So yet, plenty has questioned the wisdom of the subsiding a large of part of Sterling's wages as he lines up for a team likely to be one of Chelsea's direct competitors this season in the race of Champions League qualification. The first window is remembered with regrets rather than recrimination by Clearlake, conducted as it was a chaotic first week after an accelerated takeover driven partly at the direction of Thomas Tuchel, a head coach with whom all the owners quickly agreed that simply couldn't work. Pochettino on a very different case in the second half of May. A speculation surrounded the Argentine future at Chelsea, with an end of season review conducted by Stanley and Stewart looming. Boehly made a public pronouncement at Sportco conference and economic uh, Qatar Economic Forum, which appeared to advocate for keeping him as head coach. The number one thing is you have to get to be patient. This is what he said. Bowley said at the later event, which asked about Chelsea's strategy, you are putting something together and expecting it to come together really quickly, but the reality is anything good takes a little bit of time. Patience was always a thought for us. This is a young and exciting team that will be together for a long time. If you look at the franchise that dominates for a long time, they have a real stability in the team, which we don't even have, and we don't know whether we are going to get anytime soon. We are really fucked at this point. You get me? So stability in the team from office and coaching staffs. Bowley has raised eyebrows at Stamford Bridge by inviting Pochettino to a private dinner on the Friday evening before the Chelsea season-ending 2-1 win against Bournemouth. A courtesy that the coach promptly disclosed to the journalists in the final press of the campaign. Look, if I invite you alone, you are. Look, if I invite you alone and you are me, you have a dinner. It's not a bad thing. No. Pochettino asked, I don't believe that. The following Tuesday, it was announced that Pochettino and Chelsea has mutually decided to part ways after 6 hours of discussion over 2 days at Cobham with Stanley, Stewart, Egbali, while Bowley dialed in from the United States. When Stanley and Stewart had flown out to see Bowley the week before the dinner with Pochettino to explain their thinking about making a coaching change. He responded in a supportive tone at that meeting, though his subsequent words and action constructed very differently. People familiar with Bowley thinking, saying he wanted Chelsea to retain Pochettino, and but he did not formally veto the final decision, which was mutually reached. These sources had to consider that Egbali to be trigger happy and deliver the call to move on. An accusation that is strenuously denied on Clearlake's side. A person familiar with Clearlake thinking contends that if Bowley, in the who engaged in owners' interference, attempting to put a stamp on the scale of Winstanley and Stewart at the end of the season, review words and action that displays the public backing for Pochettino rather than allowing Chelsea co-sporting director to complete their process, arrive at their own decision. There's a lot of belief on the Clearlake side. that being overruled by Chelsea sporting director on Pochettino, who was the tipping point for Boehly to begin exploring his option within the ownership structure. A move that he had in recent days spill out in public, discussed in social media reports about the potential bid to gain full control of the club. People familiar with Boehly stance. Sorry, let me get this. Bro, it looks like this whole thing this is a very a very long this is a very long article, bro. I think a lot of things is going on. I think a lot of things is going on. But let's just continue. We'll be over with it. So okay. Let's continue. People familiar with Bowley's stance denies this and insists that the border cultural clash with Clearlake is driving his thinking. Several more neutral sources briefed on the matter has echoed that Bowley's view, suggesting they divide the rest of the different objective of the owners. On one hand, Bowley's investment is personal money, and he's viewing his support and sporting investment as long-term, lifetime plays. Clearly, as a fund, is managing money on behalf of investors. This will inevitably lead to diverging interest of at times, particularly since the club is entering its second successful season without a financial reward of Champions League. The question is why the parties did not see the tension coming when they came together uh, to buy out Abramovich in 2022. The answer to that is, according to people familiar with the co-owner, is that all parties were under time pressure to bring together a consortium to buy a club put up for auction by UK government. Following the Russia invasion of Ukraine and sanctioning of Abramovich, while Clearlake and Boehly has done deals together, they have never operated a business together. A risk was taken, and it flatly backfired. The tension between Boehly and Egbali tested Pochettino's patience during his tremendous single season as head coach at Stamford Bridge. The way his departure played out exposed the fault line among Chelsea owners, which has now fractured. On their arrival at Chelsea in 2022, Boehly and Clearlake signaled they expect to communicate a stadium plan by the end of the calendar year. That self-imposed deadline was extended by the summer of 2023, then some more time in 2024. Then, more than 2 years into the ownership, the vital question of what to do with Stamford Bridge and potential tantalizing the former L Court Exhibition Centre site in less than a mile away still has no answer. For the first time, for the first year of their ownership, the project was being led by two of Bowley's trusted associates, Jonathan Goldstein, a London property developer and a fellow Chelsea board member, as well as chief executive investment firm and Kane International was front center of with Janet Maria, yeah, the woman who was involved in this, who was the architect or the person to develop Stamford Bridge. Um, the vice of executive vice president of planning development for the Dodgers and enlisted as a prominent consultant. Goldstein personally, well, blah. Okay, okay. I think it remains a little. You guys should be patient. I don't know. I don't know if you guys will reach it, but you guys should be patient. But this is a hell of an article. This is a hell of an article, and it explains why. So Goldstein personally handed the purchase of the 1.2 acre to Sir Oslard two mansion site adjournment to the stadium in July last year, as well as representing the club at several meetings with key stakeholders and supporters group. But things changed in October with the appointment of Jason Gunnan, the former managing director of the state of art of Sophia Stadium in Los Angeles, as Chelsea's operating officer. Gunnan, who was promoted to the club president and chief executive officer in Chelsea's latest executive reshuffle this month, has been tasked with the leading of stadium projects. But ever since his arrival, several architecture, including Populous, the firm responsible for the Tottenham Hotspur Stadium, has consulted to inform the club deliberation. Ghana rule is not a source of tension. Boehly and Clearlake consider him the right reader, the right leader to formulate a stadium plan backed by a new management team. But the lack of progress on the project is cited as a factor in the relationship breakdown between the owners. Chelsea's time in Stamford Bridge, purgatory, sorry, since the Abramovich pause his ambitions with development projects indefinitely in 2028 has cost them their 40,173 historic 40,173 seaters historic home is now the ninth largest capacity stadium in the Premier League, placing a relatively low ceiling on match day revenue, even with the unpopular decision to raise the general admission tickets for the first time in more than a decade for 2004-2005 season. The club has also do not have a front shirt sponsor. I hinted it in a lot of video, further increasing the need the price to go up. Bro, this is one hell of an article. A lot is going on with this Chelsea board. I don't know what to say. Genuinely. Hold on with me. We will get to the ending line. So last year, a tentative target for Chelsea to be playing in a new home by 2030 already look optimistic, and there will come a time when either revamping or rebuilding Stamford Bridge are the only viable option. In March, the Elcourt Development Company unveiled detailed plan for the first phase. It's proposed on the exhibition site with the aid of construction getting underway in 2026. Taking the slow part on the stadium plan may matter less if Clearlake and Boehly are truly prepared to wait for a long time to realize a return on their vast investment in Chelsea. The event of the last month caused serious doubt over whether they will pursue that together. During a meeting last month, Boehly and Egbali agreed that he and Chelsea clearly would explore possible buyout option in the light of breakdown of the relationship. People familiar with Boehly thinking on the matter believe that there will be a clear indication of the direction of travel within the next 2 months. But what does that mean? Since that August meeting, figures familiar with the talks claim uh, multiple parties as approached Boehly, indicating there will be they are willing to take Chelsea with him. Long-term investors, not people who are short-term, who expect short-term returns. Ideal candidates seem as passive financial backers who will provide perpetual capital. Clearlake stance is that the future holds only two possible options: a continuation of the status quo, or a buyout that would see it take full control of Chelsea. The person familiar with the firm thinking insists that there is no need to desire to sell the majority stake already. They have the funds to relieve Bowley and his fellow investors, Mark Walter and Herzenjob, of their shares if they are unwilling to continue with the existing agreement. There is a suspicion on Clearlake's side that this shame being played out in the public domain is actually a ploy of these guys. That the true motive of the Bowley's camp, which they believe is to attempt to put pressure on them to make a big offer to purchase his stake. But Bowley recent action are not of those man who appears to be losing interest. The billionaire keep his distance more than before, but asks for updates on what is happening at Chelsea, with sources saying that regular communication takes place with Winstanley and Stewart. He flew in for Chelsea opening Premier League game against City, which attended the 6-2 Wolverhampton Wanderers the following week, which it's it clashed with a personal engagement where he constantly provide with match updates. In the summer, Bowley traveled to South Carolina to observe the training camp run up by Real Madrid Foundation. Seeing youngsters train in Real Madrid kit has led Boehly to consider a possibility of setting up similar mini academies for Chelsea around the world. Such a scheme, according to long-term planning, both sides has matching rights and veto power regarding the potential from outside investors. Clearly, therefore, publicly, oh my goodness. Okay, we're almost finishing. Um, Clearly, therefore, oh my god, both sides has matching rights veto power regarding potential offers from outside investors. Clearly, can therefore credibly urge that all road must go through it as majority shareholder, but Boehly and others have a measure of protection against any change of the ownership structure that they do not have their that do not have the approval. It is also important that to note that not all Chelsea shares are created equal. Clearly, Capital shares a Class A senior, Boehly, while those of Boehly and his co-investors Class B junior, meaning that the latter they are exposed to first loss if the club lose value. Despite this difference in shares, however, Boehly, Walter, and Wiss has we are could be guaranteed same rate of return on selling their stakes as Egbali and Felice Stefano and Clearlake investors would receive for relinquishing their yes. Exploring the mechanic of selling in appropriate because while the events of the recent while the events of the recent days has described as a buyout civil war in the boardroom, it is also very likely to be a bruising, fierce negotiation. Clearly, and Boehly have set out their respective stall, posturing with a oh my god extra 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 level of conviction is a part of the high level business. What happens if Clearlake offers Boehly a financial off revamp to start again at another club with a more agreeable partner? What if Boehly's group finds a backing and presents Boehly investors with a handsome return on investment after 2 painful years? Neither party is going on the record to clear the state of intentions and reassure the supporters. Nobody knows how or when this will end. Oh my god. Which is clear, however, that the public of the grievances over the deepness and the sense of disorienting instability Chelsea have failed to escape since the for sale sign went up in the Stamford Bridge more than 2 years ago. Wahala dey. There is a lot of problem. I swear. I swear. I don't know. Just tell me what you think about this article so we don't have to like waste more time. That's all for now, and I'll see you in the next one. Baby.